the HHS meeting, and we will start with the pledge, please. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have, next we have adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Adopts the agenda.
Hall seconds.
Thank you. Romano adopts and Hall second. Supports. Can we vote, please?
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes. Is there any support? Is there a motion?
Matusik moves.
Van Sickle motion to approve.
Matusik, Commissioner Matusik makes the motion. Van Sickle supports. Is there any discussion? Can we please vote?
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Now we will have public participation for 3 minutes per person. If anyone would like to speak, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Going twice? On the agenda items. Thank you. Next, we have presentation from the Health Department from Andrew on health, bathing beach water quality. Hello, sir.
In Human Services meeting, but I believe our EH director, the good thing is you got to meet some of our staff, our great staff at the Health Department, and our environmental health director, Tom Barnes, was here for a grant for our QPCR to support our beach testing. So as a result of that, I believe Commissioner Brown asked for a presentation on our beaches and where we're at. So I'm happy to do that today. Do you have the presentation in front of you? I have it in front of me and see this computer screen, but I want to make sure that you have it as well. Excellent, excellent. All right, so we're going to get right into it. I know, Commissioner Brown, you asked for 5 years, but we're going to give a bonus of 10 years of data just because I think it paints a good picture. Anytime you're looking at water quality, it's good to look at a good span of years to look at trends because just looking at 1 or 2 years really doesn't tell the whole story. And the story is really that you'll see hopefully is that it's a good trend in water quality and beaches, and I think it shows the work of the Health Department along with our great partners over at Public Works and Candace Miller and all the work that they're doing as well. So we really work in tandem, hand in hand, and then also directly with the beaches themselves. The beach operators are really the responsible parties for managing the beaches and keeping them clean. That's very important in terms of water quality. So let's get into the data real quick. I want to first give you an overview of beach testing here in Macomb. We do 5 beaches, bathing beaches that is. That's how it's dedicated under the state code. We sample those at least twice a week. If we have a high sample, we'll go out and typically resample after that high sample if the conditions are right. And what I mean is that if we get a ton of rain and it continuously has a lot of precipitation, it might not make sense to go out immediately and test again because we know that the sample is probably going to be very high. And I'll tell you why that's important too, because we have this 30-day average measurement too in our measurements of E. coli. That's what we're looking for is E. coli. That is not the only contaminant of concern, but it's an indicator contaminant that we're really looking for. So if we know that we're seeing high levels of E. coli, which could be produced by both animals and humans, that's an indicator that there's other contaminants in the water as well that we really don't want people in that water. Typically, with our beaches, especially in Lake St. Clair, we have really great flow and cycling. So typically what you'll see is oftentimes a high level, and then within 24 to 48 hours, that level is significantly lower because of the strong current in that lake. You don't see this elsewhere, especially in the inland lakes. When you get high levels, they tend to stay there longer. And that would mean that beach closures would last longer. So we have 5 beaches that we monitor. We also do surface water sampling, but that's a different presentation. I'm not going to get into that. We also monitor over 50 sites in the county. We start in early April, actually, to get a head start before Memorial Day. That way we can also have a pattern and trend and show before Memorial Day starts, and we want to have that trend ahead of time for the beach data. 3 years ago, we started doing qPCR testing. So we do 2 type of dual testing right now. We do a testing called ColiAlert. This is where you're taking a water sample and you're actually growing that bacteria on an agar plate. This is very accurate, although it takes a long time. And the problem is that results don't come in until 24 hours after the fact. So when we test, we get those results 24 hours later. So we're always behind the game. And we realized this and we wanted something more real time. Real time would be great. There's nothing actual real time, like momentary testing where you get the results, but qPCR can get a result within 4 hours. It's a lot better turnaround time. However, qPCR is looking at a little bit different. It's not growing the bacteria, it's actually looking at the DNA. And it can measure both dead and alive DNA of E. coli. And so what we've been doing is really looking at the numbers side by side along with the state health, not the health department, but EGLE oversees this beach program. But they actually used our data at EPA to establish a standard, statewide standard. So that's looking at how many copies basically of DNA is present in that water in that sample. So they're a little bit 2 different tests. They're apple and oranges. You can't compare them exactly, but we can have a correlation that shows typically where would you see closures at with ColiAlert and match that up to get that measure. And this was a process that's taken well over 5 years. We've been doing dual data for 3 years, and we really plan to eventually move, especially next year, hopefully move almost exclusively to qPCR, with having ColiAlert utilized as a confirmatory test that we can use on top of that. But really, qPCR is really where we need to go. The downside of qPCR is it's a little bit more expensive than ColiAlert. Typically, ColiAlert's about $20 a test. qPCR right now is around $50 a test. So quite a difference there. We're hoping as more labs get online and costs go down, that we'll see that cost lowered. But that's really the qPCR is where we want to go. You have your standards here on this overview, and feel free to keep this presentation. I'm sure you guys will, when you're bored, having trouble sleeping, you'd love to see the standard and the beach data. 10 years at a glance in front of you is showing our closures for our 5 beaches. What stands out, clearly is our Memorial Beach. Tend to have the most issues with closures at that beach in particular. I'm going to go through each one of these beaches because they're each one of them are characteristically different in the way they are, and it might not seem like a beach is a beach, but the geography and where it's at play significant roles, as well as other factors, like illicit discharges. Does the beach have a huge population of animals like birds that we struggle with? Those are all things that really factor into this water quality issue. Lake St. Clair Metro Park, and what you have in front of you is 2 trend lines. These trend lines represent days of closure and then also how many times it was closed. So for the most part, Lake St. Clair Metro Park, when you look at the closures, you'll see the lines tend to stay pretty close to each other, which means what happens is when we have a closure, typically that beach is closed for a day, maybe 2, and then it's open again. That means that the line is pretty close together. Where it separates a little bit is you'll see in 2015 and 17, there's a big difference, a bigger gap. And what that's a result of is when you see really high levels during that year, the beaches close longer. Because not only do we have a daily average That's 300 counts, E. coli counts per milliliter. But there's an average of 130 over 3 days, and if we go exceed that 30-day average, that will keep the beach closed. So you really are penalized for a really high sample. So if we get one day where it's raining, we have overflow issues, we have everything getting washed and rinsed out into the water, you could see really high numbers, and then we could see several days as a result of that beach being closed. However, in 2017, we really implemented with that year, with the amount of closures, we really took this head on, and we met with HCMA here on Clinton Metro Park Authority to really talk about what we can do at the beach. A lot of talk about beach and water quality. In Macomb County, we love our water, right? It's a huge asset to us. We love it. We want to make sure that we keep it safe and be able to use it. So we went out to the beach and had a lot of conversations, and still have a lot of conversations about how to manage their beach well. One of the big factors after 17 is that they implemented goose chasers. It's a program where they bring dogs out to chase the birds off the beach. A lot of those, we love our birds. Some of you, I don't really love them, but hey, there's a lot of people that might love birds. But they produce a lot of waste on the beaches, and when it rains, guess where that waste goes? Right back into the water. And so it was having significant impact on the closures. As you'll see, it's been 4 years now, but I mean the results are really good so far. That they've implemented at least 5 days a week, those dogs are out there chasing those birds. So they bring out dogs and they chase the birds away. It's a humane way of getting those birds to move on. And I think it's shown a significant impact. We've also worked with them on trying to redesign the beach, plant high grasses, natural high grasses. High grasses are a deterrent for birds because they think predators are behind those high grasses. Like coyotes or foxes, other predators like that. They don't like that high grass. However, the thought was that could it impact the view when you go out to Lake St. Clair Metro Park? You love that view of going out there and seeing the water. So we're continuously working with them on how to do natural beach mitigation so that we can have both a great beach, but then they can also utilize it for all the activities that go on at Lake St. Clair Metro Park. Lot of improvements at the beach, and HCMA has done a great job with trying to improve that beach, the structure of that beach, which really plays into the water quality. St. Clair Shores Memorial Park, you're going to see a big difference here in the difference in the number of days compared to the days of closure. Significantly more days where Memorial Beach is closed for. Typically, we'll see Memorial when it starts to get warm, remain closed for several days at a time. And it has been very much impacted by the physical location of that beach. Unfortunately, it's kind of tucked in. It doesn't get good water flow circulation. There's all kinds of issues with scum and muck coming into the shore and holding bacteria and other contaminants as well. We've really tried to work with the city there, and they're still working on it. They haven't solved it yet. We still continue as according to this chart, this year it was closed for 99 days. I mean, that's a big chunk of the summer, and that's unfortunate when you talk about trying to get our residents out and enjoy the water. That is a significant amount of closures that beach has to deal with. So we continue to work with Parks and Rec Department to try to redesign that beach or come up with ideas. Unfortunately, sometimes those ideas and things are expensive. And so I think they're trying to come up with the funds and to make those improvements and work on how to best go forward with beach mitigation at that park. New Baltimore, great beach. Typically not a lot of issues. We might have a couple out there, but really good flow. There was a change. You notice that big spike in 14. This was actually as a result of a drainage pipe that was found that was actually moved as a result. So after looking at that, we realized, wow, every time we get precipitation, that drainage is going right up upstream, as you'll say, of the beach. So that washes right into the bathing beach. That was mitigated and changed, and as a result, as you can see, since 2015, very significant reduction in closures. So great beach and great success out there with their initiatives to make sure that's a great beach for our residents. Same thing, Stony Creek, both beaches. In fact, you're not even going to see, here's Bay Point, you're not going to see a chart for Eastwood, which is their other beach, because we've, in the history of the 10 years here, we've only had 1 day of closure out there. So very rare for us to usually have issues at Stony Creek. Probably more recently in some of the cove and by the dam, having some concerns with algae, not in the bathing areas, but in some of the cove areas by the dam where you drive over. There's been some algae growth, and we talk about harmful algal blooms, and just a concern there. And so last couple of years we've done some sampling, and they're put up some signage just in that area. There was not any concern. Sampling was done all along across the lake, but that was really the only area where we tend to see issues at both Stony Creek beaches. So they're doing great out there as well with their mitigation, because they have to rake the beaches and clean up the seaweed. So there's a lot that goes into the maintenance of the beaches. And I know I ran off, but I love this topic. Obviously, former EH director, near and dear to my heart. So I could talk all day about it, but I'll stop there and let you ask any questions you want to.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Can you just give me a second, please?
Sure.
Thank you. I need a receive and file, please.
Motion to receive and file, Saul.
Thank you. We have Commissioner Kraft up first, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrew, good to see you. Thank you for saying nice things about the new Baltimore Park. We've come a long way. The community's done a great job.
I'm just telling the truth.
Sorry, Veronica. We can talk more offline on this because this is kind of up my alley as well. But I had a real quick question about the monitoring and the testing. You said the turnaround's about 24 hours. How can we make that more real time? Is that a science issue? Like the science isn't there to test that quickly? Is it a money issue? Do we not have the equipment? What's
So
this?
we do it with, the answer, Phil, is I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Were you all
Yeah,
done?
I'm done.
I'm sorry. I jumped on it. So the answer is qPCR. It really is the amount of time that it takes that sample. We have a heart lab right on Lake St. Clair Metro Park, and it's operated by Dave Slag, a professor out of Oakland University. Has summer students come out. We bring the samples that we collect ourselves to them, and they analyze it. We get that sample within 4 hours. Compared to 24 hours or more, that's huge for us. We can really utilize qPCR, and it's well worth the cost, I believe, and that's the future of this and the funding of where it goes. And the state realizes this too, because they've allocated more funds for us to do this as well.
Thank you. We'll talk more about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
There are other beaches, correct? I think there's like a real small one over by Blossom Heath. Why do you test the same ones and you don't test others?
So Blossom used to be a real beach, bathing beach. It's not technically classified as a bathing beach. There is some talks about bringing Blossom back. There is some concerns about the same issues at Memorial happening at Blossom.
Do people go there? Because I've done cleanup over there, and the amount of plastic is, first of all, the amount of plastic on every beach in each little square foot is shocking. You cannot find a square foot of sand that doesn't have little bits of plastic in it. And I know a lot of it washes up, but judging from the larger pieces of plastic, I figured people are hanging out there.
I think you're right. I think there's multiple issues down there that we really need to come. It's not just one thing down at that beach. we really need to come together with Parks and Rec and see how we can support them. And we have, we've met with them numerous times. I think they struggle for maintenance, to keep up with maintenance. Not that they're not doing it. I think it's a lot for them. And
But
they
are
don't
there
have the
others you're
resources.
not testing as well? I was wondering why the set 5.
Those are our bathing beaches for Macomb County.
Okay, so there are no other Blossom Heaths out there.
There could be, Commissioner, but the only ones that we are, regulatory for are designated bathing beaches that we have
Okay.
to register with the state.
Okay. All right,
So you
thank
could
you.
have issues with shorelines, of ponds, people could go swimming still, but it's not a body of water that we monitor.
Okay, but, I mean, then Blossom Heath's unique because it actually looks like a beach. It's
used to
set
be-
up like a
yes,
beach.
It used to be a beach.
It's called a beach. There's no sign that says, this is technically not a beach.
Yeah, we try not to put negative signs up like rest
So-
in peace Blossom Beach, once.
Do you
once-
know if St. Clair Shores is testing that? Do you know if anybody's testing it?
There were some talks about them potentially early on this year, actually. They were thinking about testing it, and we actually advised them, it makes no sense to test it before you take care of the problem. If you test it, you're gonna find issues with it. We gotta take care of the problem, and I didn't want them to waste money on the testing, because it adds up. There's no reason to test to see if it's good. We know, we have historical information, because we asked them, what did you do? Did you make any of the changes that we recommend? No, we couldn't. Well, we're gonna have the same result. It doesn't have good water flow there. It's not a good.
Okay, so we already know it's going to be high. Is it closed then?
It should not be for swimming.
Okay, I got some research to do there. Plus, I got to take a look at my kids and figure out which ones to send to Stony Creek and which one to send to Blossom. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Andrew. Good to see you again. My question is, with your charting of the contaminant levels and such, do you put on those charts any of the sanitary sewer overflow releases done by Public Works from Macomb County and also by the Oakland County folks who release stuff into the Red Run drain, which I understand goes right into the Clinton River and out into the lake?
Yeah, there's great question, Commissioner. There's been a lot of research, a lot of attention on overflows, and we work very closely with Candace in her office. We share data. This data is shared with them. We've met with them numerous times. I don't have a chart offhand to show that. Typically, what we see is when there's closures, it's typically an issue related close to the beach. So more times than none, it seems to indicate a presence of a contaminant by that beach area. Not as much. We've really looked at overflows and what that impact is, and haven't had a strong correlation to show if we have something in 12 towns in Oakland County going down, that tends to have this amount of closures, or we can see that direct correlation. I'm not saying it has no impact. I'm saying we haven't been able to pinpoint that impact and definitively say, when they have overflow, we're gonna have closures. That's just not the case all the time.
Okay. Yeah, my thought was just if we had the overflows marked on there, we might see something, but you're saying not.
I can see if we've looked at that before, we've charted that. I just have to see if we have that updated information for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brown? Chair
Thank
Brown?
you. They don't test all the beaches in the county because there's just too many, going up in the north end of the county, we had farm ponds, when the cows left, we still had a lot of nice warm water there, so we swam in that, and it was a beach for us, and we were very happy with it. But the county can't go and test every farm pond in the county, so they focused on the big ones. So I love my children more than Veronica, though, and I don't send them to those farm ponds anymore.
Just don't have them drink the water, that's it.
Nah.
You know? Wash your
Yeah.
hands after.
But this is really good to think about how far we've come since the early 90s, when there was no beach testing at all done. When Lake St. Clair was a peat bog and moss shut down the beaches, the boat marinas couldn't get the boats out, and there was just a stinking mess along there. We were harvesting weeds from the lake, putting them in the farmers' fields for compost. That's how bad it was. Truckloads of it. And we didn't know what was going on. And what do we have to do? We had a test. And who stepped up? The county stepped up to test what was happening. We figured something was getting into the lake, discharges. So the county started a testing program around the county, in the streams all across the county and in the underground. Started a process of testing illegal discharges starting from St. Clair Shores and working back inland, trying to find where the illegal connections were. And we found a lot. There still are, but the process continues. There's a big process, but we needed and at the time, everyone wanted a solution. We didn't have a solution because we had to wait for the testing. And people like me were very impatient, saying, well, but here we are, 20 years later, we've got years of data to look at. Back then, we said, well, these beach closures were correlated to rain events. If you want to just know when the rainy season was, you just look at the beach closure rates and it correlates to the rain events. Sure. Now you're saying it's not so much true. Why? Because we have more data to track it a little bit more. So some of our thought that we thought it would be an easy solution wasn't necessarily an easy solution, or an easy answer rather.
Absolutely.
But what percentage though of those rain events are tied to closures? I mean, you said not all, but is it 50%? Is it under 40, or is it negligible? I mean,
Commissioner, I don't think we have that number. I don't think that what we need to have is the ability, and it's coming online, what we call microbial source tracking. It's the same technology as the qPCR, same technique. What they do is they look at the source. We really need to look at the sources of the contaminants and take a sample to be able to tell you what exactly is it human, is it animal, because then that would be able to tell us, is it from precipitation or is there other things going on? If it's getting a strong human marker from sewage, we know, man, maybe there's a discharge going on, maybe there's a septic system. We could look at animal waste. What specifically type of animals? Is it the birds, or is it something more upstream, like agriculture related that we can track it to? We're there. We just need to implement that microbial source tracking to answer those questions, because I think that's what we've been asking for decades, right? So I wish I had the answer to that, but I don't.
but we're getting there, right?
We're getting there.
The
We're making a
microbial
lot
track,
of
how
progress.
much, when will that be fully implemented?
So we have microbial source tracking now. It's just a matter of the cost. It's cost inhibited to do it every single time. So you can do it.
How many test sites? We have to kind of give commissioners an idea how many test sites we have. We have a lot.
For surface water, we
Yes.
have, I believe, 54 sites in the county that we do surface. So surface water could be streams, creeks, drains,
And you said
ponds.
$50. You said $50 every test.
That's for qPCR.
Oh.
Microbial source tracking is a little bit more than that. Typically, it gets closer to $70, $70 a test. So that technology is new, and I think you'll see that price really come down.
That's some of the beach closures have historically had issues like Memorial Beach and up in New Baltimore until they figured out there was a problem with the pipe and they fixed it. But I understand there's still a pipe in Memorial Beach that's a discharge point there that probably will never be shut down. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of that, Commissioner. I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm not aware of that one.
All right. I've helped out many of the beach cleanups along St. Clair Shores, and the community does a good job cleaning it up and picking up all the plastic and garbage and all the rest. It's something else, and but the community, the whole county supports keeping this lake clean, and so any money we invest in water quality, whether it's sewers inland or it's testing the waters along the place so we can figure out where the problems are, is something this board has always stepped up to the plate to do, and we'll
We
continue
appreciate
to
the
do.
support. I think the result of that is one of the strongest programs. I know I'm biased because I work here, but I can truly tell you that it's one of the best or strongest programs around the state. When you look at testing, there are counties that don't do testing at all. There are testing that happens maybe once, and they don't start until July because of funding, lack of funding, or lack of staff. We have significantly invested in this because of the support that you've given us. So we really appreciate that. And as a result, I think we have such a strong program for water quality.
Commissioner Krafts, well, he's been very interested in testing for a long time, and back in the 90s, testing took 3 or 4 days to get a result back. So it was frustrating back then. Then we got the real push was real-time testing, right? Real-time results.
Absolutely.
Well, we're close to that with 3 or 4 hours, and we've made progress, but it's not perfect. But we got more to go. But we've come a long way, and it's not as bleak of a situation as it once was. But
I
there's
agree.
still a lot more room for improvement. And our friends and our neighbors to the west would do well to step up their game. And that's a subject for another day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for bringing the presentation. It's always interesting information. It's a good news story is what it is.
It is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of stuff going on, but the trend is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. That was actually brought up yesterday with one of our speakers. Mr. Director, we are finished. I think we're completed here at this time. I know you have other things to present, but we're finished now. I'd like to take a vote, please, for this.
Motion passes 13-0.
And thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you.
We are now going to the budget for, I don't see Ernest here. Is someone stepping in for Ernest? Yes. For community action,
Chair, I'll make a motion to receive and file. This is Commissioner Song.
I think we're recommending to full board. Thank you.
Motion to move to full board.
That would be Commissioner Song and support by Commissioner Wallace. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi there.
Chairwoman Zinner, thank you so much. Commissioners, just want to give you a heads up. The reason Ernest Covey isn't here today is him and his wife had their first child on Sunday.
Oh, my
So we have Gary
gosh.
Cutler with us today. So they had a little baby Emery. Everything's going fantastic.
Oh.
But we're juggling a lot over at MCA, and Gary's stepping up for us today. So
that's
Gary,
wonderful.
all you.
Great.
Everyone think about babies. It's going to be fine.
It's all good.
See what you did there.
Good afternoon. So I have 2 items here. The first one is the budget amendment for our CDBG and ESG funds. When the budget was adopted, we project what those numbers are going to be. Additional monies came in throughout the year. So what we're doing in this case here is we're reconciling the amount of money we have to spend out in the budget book to what we actually have at our programs. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that one. And the second item, item B on your list, is a substantial amendment. Again, this has to do with our
Point of
community-
order, Chair.
I think we're going to vote on this at this time. Thank you so much. I have no speakers, so we will vote on this, please.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. The next B will be recommend to full board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support,
Hall.
Sickle.
Commissioner Song made the motion, and I don't know who made this. Commissioner Hall, support. Thank you so much. And Gary, can you go on from here now? Thank you so much.
Thank you. So for a substantial amendment, we have to come before you as a governing body to have you approve this before it goes back to the Housing and Urban Development, HUD. So what we have here is two main items. The first item was money that was given to us under the CARES Act for Community Development Block Grant. A large amount of money was allocated towards mortgage assistance. MISTA through the state has got the same funds, so this is duplicative. So we're reallocating funds, the bulk of them being funds that were for emergency rental assistance, which is being duplicative with MISTA providing those same services. So we are requesting the reallocation of that. And then under our ESG, we had a large portion of the money that was in homeless prevention, and we're reallocating that into other areas. Again, nothing substantial. They're going to homeless operations. So just a slight reallocation within emergency services is our homeless grant under the department or the HUD under. So happy to answer any questions. Or.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Song?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Gary. My question is in regards to page 4, the last item, carry out job trainings, the $1 million budget. I was just wondering what type of training and for whom, and is this an ongoing service, or would this be?
So we were working. We were working with. We were working with Michigan Works. Drawing a blank. John Beerbuss's old program, and Ernest Cave has been working with him on doing job placements in addition to the services that they're providing already at Michigan Works. So
Okay.
this is going to be in conjunction with them, and I would say it's more of a pilot, and we'll see how it works before we reallocate new additional.
So
funds.
Michigan Works doesn't have funding specific for this?
They have some funding. This is to complement what they have.
Okay.
The services they have.
Okay, got it. So, because my next question was, I know the state has been pushing this 60 by 30 initiative for anyone who hasn't earned an associate's to have free tuition to community colleges or to get certified training. So is that something that you think you would see this overlapping, or is it completely different? And I'm sorry if I'm asking questions that perhaps you probably don't know.
You're probably more technical. What we're doing is we're looking at complementing what they have, not being duplicative in operations.
Okay. I think JP has something to say.
Madam Chair, if I may. Yeah,
Please, thank you.
Yeah, Gary very much has illustrated the synchronization of these programs. Our efforts, not only through our community action agency with our caseworkers, we provide referrals to Justin Aligo and his team and Chris Riley and their team, both on the Mesita side and the Michigan Works side. So as they receive their dollars from the state, as we're getting these supplemental dollars, ultimately, what it gives us the ability to do is provide more latitude and eligibility for those programs. So whether it's on the micro-credential side, whether it's on a career pathway side, or whether it's on one of the income eligibility side, we're able to choose your own adventure with those individuals that come for us. As opposed to having those hard programmatic lines, these dollars expand that scope and have given Ernest and Justin and also Chris the ability to work with our partners, whether it's the community college, whether it's the local economic development organizations, and also the employers that work with us in the Planning and Economic Development Department. So it's expansion of those, opening up the funnel, and then providing more opportunities on that end too.
Okay. And then do you have a number of individuals that this amount would serve?
Yeah, so those numbers are entered into standardized dashboards.
I'm sorry, will you stand at the microphone so that it can be picked up?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, Commissioner Kleinfeld, appreciate that. Sorry for invading your personal space there, Gary. Commissioner, that information can be provided. They're integrated into standardized dashboards at both the Mesita and Michigan Works levels, based on the eligibility of those programs, and we have to hit programmatic objectives through the WIOA federal dollars in order to continue to receive those grants. Structured elements that not only provide us the regulatory environment to do so, but as Gary has highlighted, because there is a substantial amendment with all this new money coming in, we just want to make sure that we're informing this board and following all the procedural guidelines on that end.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really interested in this program, so that's why I'm asking so many questions about it. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Matusek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
I will confess that I really struggle with movies and TV shows that circle around in time travel back and forth. Are we talking about 2019 and 2020 dollars that we're now dealing with a 2021 budget? I just need the big picture here. I'm confused.
So as we're awarded funds, we put forth a plan. The plan is over a number of years. Effectively, we have 3 years to commit the money and spend it. There are benchmarks along the way as far as timeliness, et cetera. But these funds came in during what we're calling the fiscal year 19. Within that time frame, even though the funds aren't spent after that, they are allocated into the fiscal year 19 budget plan, which is why we're doing the 2019 substantial amendment, even though the money will be spent out. Some of it's already been spent out, but money will continue to be spent out over the next couple of years.
So we're actually dealing with the 2019 budget?
This 19, so the
19
starts in
and
19,
20.
so 1920 is when we're budgeted the money. And
Okay.
if you looked at the county budget book, you'll see that my budget is a larger number than what we spend because the amount of money we get is allocated over a number of years. So it is, as opposed to most of our programs, because Macomb County acts as the fiduciary for the non-entitlement communities. We work with the communities to develop the programs that they want to do, and none of it happens overnight. And then we have spending guidelines that we have to reach, benchmarks we have to reach at certain points. But it is the 2019 plan that we're revising that goes over the number of years after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I believe we have finished. Thank you, Gary, very much, and Mr. Rayer for assisting. Can we have a vote, please?
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. We are now going to the Health Department in regard to the National WIC Association. Ms. Dean Wood.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Natalie Dean Wood, Division Director for Community Health Planning and Promotion, and we're here to ask for your approval to accept this funding that's came in from the National WIC Association to do some training and education for our staff and those clients that we serve around equity, inclusion, and diversity.
Chair, can I please make a motion to move to full board?
Thank you very much. So Commissioner Song is motioning and Commissioner Van Sickle is supporting. Let's try Farrington. Thank you very much. Please continue. Thank you.
Any questions?
I just lost, I can't get into my screen is frozen.
I don't see any, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. We will vote at this time. Thank you.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We are now going to Director Cox again.
Chair, can I make a motion to combine D through H? Because I believe they are
Yes,
all
thank
related.
you. Thank you very much for doing that.
Support,
by
correct.
Commissioner Nard.
Okay, who was the first one? Okay, Commissioner Song made the motion and Commissioner Haw supported. Thank you very much. Director, you have a speedway here.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon again. Good to see you and talk to you once again. So Same like the last item, I believe this came up at our last Health and Human Services Committee, and there's some discussion questions about these items specifically. I believe there was some confusion on these items last meeting about funds and allocation and adjustments of these funds. And I don't know if it was clear that these personnel staff were already budgeted for. This was additional grant dollars that came in through multiple sources from the state to support different activities surrounding COVID, testing, contact tracing, and wraparound services. Those dollars were budgeted for at different points throughout. We did not overspend those amounts. We just simply wanted to make budget adjustments, as much like this pandemic has done. It's very hard to predict sometimes what areas will be the most in need. So we needed to adjust, and that's exactly what this is just to come before you and to ask for approval of these adjustments to the areas that we need to support. And I know for this, I brought the big guns, JP and Smeagol, to help me out too, if there's any other questions and get into the finance part of it. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Farrington?
Thank you, only because I want to hear from the big guns. Theoretically, because we combined all these, so it's probably going to pass, but theoretically, let's say we were just taking the contact tracing and it got voted down. Since it already happened, what then happens?
I believe that we would have to use general fund dollars to cover those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner? Oh, hang on.
Uh-oh, okay. Clarification. Wasn't long.
For Commissioner Romano's
Told you I'd
benefit,
get you up
I
here,
will-
Steve.
No Velcro on my hands. Actually, what's happening in these grants is we would leave the expenses in the categories they're in today where they belong. And certain categories will be over budget, certain categories would be under budget. The grant in total will be under budget and we'll be fine. And we did not, again, as Andrew indicated, we didn't overspend any of the grant
No, I
dollars
understand
yet.
that. I just, since it already happened and being new here, and this is not the first thing that we're approving retroactively, which is an irritant, but I'm like, whether we pass it or not, it doesn't make a difference, does it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Because what will happen is the funding agency will say, oh, well, you stayed under your grant award. From an audit perspective, the auditors will look at the fund in total and say, well, okay, you're under budget in total. That's the reporting level for the audit. So this is
So it's just an accounting cleanup, basically.
it's accounting cleanup. We
Yep.
didn't overspend the money we had. We were awarded the money. Some of these expenses were already being incurred in other areas of the budget, say the general fund personnel. What was already budgeted for, we were just reallocating. And as Andrew said, as you know, during COVID, things are happening fast and furious. We don't necessarily know where the expenses are going to be incurred. Are they going to be contractual, labor, whatever, when we try to set these budgets up, so.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Song, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think Steve answered my questions. Thank you.
I think we'll take a vote.
Nope, I think there's
Oh,
another
I'm sorry.
person there.
Is there somebody else?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just popped up for me. Commissioner Sabatini. I'm
Thank
very
you,
sorry.
Chair. Steve, I'll bring you back up. I got another question for you. Just because you're here. So, what Commissioner Farrington said be very adequate. Why even do it? If it's already done, why is there a necessity even to do this?
The budget ordinance requires us to move between those categories in the budget if they're over 35,000.
Okay.
But from a reporting perspective, the auditors look at it at a different, higher level, basically. So between
Steve,
personnel and contract
Steve,
services.
did you push the button, please, so everybody
It's
can hear?
red. I might be speaking this direction, so it might not be picking me up. So we're doing it to move it within categories more of an accounting cleanup and to be in compliance with the budget ordinance. The issue here was, we didn't know week to week or month to month if we were gonna incur more testing costs, more vaccine costs, if we could get part-time help versus having to contract with SEMHA, which is a different category. So we were accounting for these things, knowing that we weren't gonna be over budget in total, and waiting until we had pretty much all of our expenses in to come before you and say, well, this is what we need to do.
So,
It's something
I asked
out
this
of the
question.
ordinary, just because of the nature of the grants.
So what's, I guess my next question would be, why was there such a time lag? Why wasn't this brought to us sooner?
Our thought pattern was, because rather than come back over and over and over and over and over, because you might, I don't forget the exact numbers, but in the spring, overtime had kind of gone down. All of a sudden, for 4 pay periods, it spiked to $80,000 a pay period. How do you budget for that? How do you predict that? Then it dropped. So we had to come back, and if we were to project that out, we might say, well, we need a budget amendment projecting this. Come back next month, have another budget adjustment going downward. Just
Back and
things were
forth.
things.
And I know the
for
grants
all of-
changed. I know the requirements changed,
Right.
and you got thrown in different
And I'll say this.
situations. I get that.
Accounting for all of these different COVID grants has been a challenge. I would prefer never to go through it again. It's not like it's an annual grant like Community Action gets for Head Start or Meals on Wheels, where you know what your categories are. Spending patterns are pretty straightforward every year, pretty consistent. You can pretty much plan on where your expenses are going to be as you proceed through your grant year. These COVID grants, and the way that the testing site was, let me back up. The traffic through the testing site or the vaccine site was just kind of, as I said the other day, that I was quoted in the paper, all over the place.
All over the place. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kleinfeld, please.
Just 2 things on this, and I think, it kind of came up last time. 50% of this budget was under an emergency order where we weren't approving anything. That doesn't mean all of this did.
Right.
But there was a lot to reconcile. We had to push out a really lot of money very quickly in a lot of areas, and I could see it taking time. And what surprised me on the questioning on this one is that it was no different. The money wasn't any different. It was just who it was allotted to and how it was used was different. And given the circumstances, I'm not sure why we had a problem with it last time. It would be
your
different
comments,
if you
Susan.
came to us and needed this kind of a budget amendment because you spent that amount of money and you weren't supposed to spend it. That's a whole different.
Yeah, we had, the awards were already granted to us for these particular grants, and we have a situation where the state said, oh, your grant, one grant was for this, and then he said, it's really for only one of those 2 purposes. For example, now we got to shift gears and reallocate things to other programs and such and so forth. It's been a challenge.
And it's our ordinance, so you're right, he could just not bring it up to us, and we can sue him for not bringing it up, but he's brought it up. So even if we turn it down, there really isn't any.
As you know, we normally bring other things
Right.
to you in accordance with the ordinance. COVID's been totally different.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
I guess we are continuing on at this point then. Thank you. I don't think we need a vote because we're going through all of them, correct? We need to vote, yeah. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, thank you. We will vote. I thought we would vote it.
Motion passes 13-0.
I forgot what number we're on. F? No. Oh, so they're all done. Okay, yeah. All right, good. Yes, thank you. Correspondence, yes.
Motion to receive and file by Kleinfeld.
Support, Saul.
Thank you. are we on H? I thought that was all part of his thing. All right, so is that the Director Cox? Oh, we're
Yeah,
just
we have a
voting on it.
motion and support. There's no questions. We would just vote on this.
Okay. Oh, hang on. I can't get to my, I can't get to it. I can't get to it. There's probably no question. Voting, please. Thank you.
Motion
vote- did the
passes
vote
12 to
come
1. Commissioner Zenner abstaining?
Well, no.
Did you
No,
want
no,
that?
No, that was by mistake. It
Okay.
was-
Yes. 13 to 0, thank you.
We have a correspondence. Commissioners' comments. We're up to commissioners' comments. Commissioner Matusek.
Take a breath there, it's okay.
I have help. It's so wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As many of you know, I have spent 12 years on the State Board of Canvassers, and as such, election law and rules and procedures are really important to me. And after yesterday's meeting, I went home and thought about what had happened. And I think we were in violation. The statute is very clear that the two major parties shall, it's a shall word, very important, submit 3 names for our consideration and our appointment to the Board of Canvassers. Obviously, one of the parties yesterday only submitted 1 name. I would really love to hear from Corporation Counsel about this because I think we're in violation. And my concern is not this person being appointed or not appointed. There's even if we don't act, there's a procedure in the law about how that person gets appointed. But I'm really concerned that the next person who doesn't want to follow the law and we vote them down says, hey, wait a minute, you let that people go without following the law, or they sue us because we just had a case where someone went back in 12 years of minutes and sued us quite successfully, I may add. So I'm just really concerned. I'm all about, especially in elections, following the rules and the procedures. And so I would just really like to hear from Corporation Counsel on this before we proceed to full board. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm going to do that.
Commissioner Wallace, please.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to apologize for not being here yesterday. It was completely last minute. I forgot I was a coach for a second there. And we did have a cross-country meet. We went out to Westland, and one of our kids placed 3rd overall in our conference, which is really great. He's a senior, and he wants to run in college. So now we're getting phone calls about him getting scholarships to run in college, which is really awesome. Kind of unheard of in Mount Clemens in this like 15-year gap. So we're excited, and it's funny because one of the, I think it was the vice principal, was like, we have a cross-country team. It's like, sure do. You do now. So I'm just excited about what's to come in the community. This is just the beginning, and I wanted to share it with you all because I share all of our youth stuff with you. So, but yeah, that's it. I'm excited, guys.
Congratulations. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Okay, so with respect to what Commissioner Matuzak said, I think they may be in violation of the law for not giving 3 names to us. I don't think we're in violation, but we haven't done anything but forwarded it to full board. So the question is, if they're in violation of the law, does that give us a requirement of some sort to do something? At this point, I don't think we're in violation of anything because we've just forwarded. I just wanted to clarify that we're not in violation. Another entity may be. And maybe we can, and I don't know why Harold's lined up to speak 3 times. Now he's lined up.
He wants to make sure.
Now, so number 2, just for the record, my kids are grown. I wouldn't say that about my kids if they weren't grown, and they expect that kind of humor from me. And number 3, I've already done my research, and there is no swimming allowed at Blossom Heath because of the lack of testing. Thank you. Oh, and I'm leaving on a jet plane, and I don't know that I want to come back again.
Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I only wish to speak one time. In anticipation of questions on this very subject, dealing with the appointments, I asked Kyle to do some research of what has previously taken place, and if allowed, he can inform us on the research that he had done on that subject for the Board of Canvassers. And I agree with Veronica, we haven't done anything. But Kyle spent an inordinate amount of time checking that out. So with the permission of the chair, I would like to hear what he's already informed me of what he's found. I think everybody ought to hear it. So with your permission, Kyle.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you, Board. I appreciate a chance to talk. I think this is my first time. But so we did look into previous appointments to the Board of Canvassers. In 2019, there was an appointment made. 1 Democrat candidate was given and 3 Republican candidates were given, so opposite of what we had this year. And then in 2017, there was only 1 given from each party. So there is previous, I don't want to call it precedent, but a past history of only being given 1, and it has yet to cause an issue. There was an opinion from council that was slightly vague, and Crystal and council could probably talk more offline about it if we need more answering or more thorough answering of the questions.
Thank you for doing that, Kyle. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kyle and Commissioner Chair Brown.
Yeah, thank you. We sent that note back to the Corporation Council for better clarification. That was a vague answer. We need a specific answer in writing to the board. So we're going to get that so we can all have a clear understanding of what's going on. So stand by for all that. And as soon as we get it, we'll share it with all of you. Along with what Commissioner Kleinfeld said, I also want to make a clarification. I didn't swim in a cow pond in northern Macomb County.
I thought you said that.
That's my dry humor coming out. And I'm pretty embarrassed that people would actually think I would do that. Or that my children and families all around northern Macomb bring their picnic baskets to the cow pond to sit around on a warm summer day and smell the farm and take a dip in the warm water. But
it's just getting deeper.
I know. So anyway, give you a bit of humor with that. So thanks a lot.
Commissioner Brown, you will have this other information sent also with it, the history.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
I guess. There's no other comments. Public participation now for anything someone would like to speak about for 3 minutes? Yes, please come up. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and excuse my attire. My name is Penny Williams, and I'm a student at Wharton University in the social work program. So I see there's a lot of laughter and joyous moments here. If I may just ask one question regarding some policies regarding the WIC program that the ladies were speaking about. Now, generally, there are funds or grants for that program. And what is maybe one of the policies for having a grant of that magnitude? Because they do have a lot of population that they honor.
I got to speak with this lady earlier.
Yeah.
We have a social work student here, and she's coming to do part of her homework or assignment. I'm sorry,
Yes.
assignment. Unfortunately, we are not able to answer questions. This is a time for the public to speak.
Oh, I see.
So if you want to say something to us, we will be more than happy to listen to you. However, there is a gentleman that works, is he an executive or he works with the executive? I don't know. He's very, very important to us.
Mid-level bureaucrat.
Mr. Rea behind you, when you're finished speaking to us, he'll be very happy to speak to you. He's a very nice gentleman.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very
That
much.
was my comment, and
And
you all are so nice.
Good luck with
Thank
your
you for
with your
having me.
career.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
I think we are now to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. Support.
I think, who did it first? Because Commissioner Song, and second was Romano. You are not first today. Okay. Thank you.
I did it on purpose.
We have to vote. I know you.
Motion passes 13-0.